Hi, and thank you for joining us for the second session of the ITC Summit. My name is Mladen Lukic. I'm the General Manager for Travel Counsellor South Africa. If you have missed the first part of the ITC Summit, you will easily find it on our recruitment site. It is recruitment.travelcounsellors.co.za. You will find both the first part of the ITC Summit and this edition, and I hope that you are going to enjoy it. In this second part, we continue to talk about the travel industry through the lens that is really focusing on independent travel consultant, ITCs, people from the travel industry who work from home. In this session, I have the pleasure of introducing two of our guests. We have Robyn Christie, Country Manager for Travelport Southern Africa, and we have Paulo De Oliviera, General Manager Sales for Thompsons Holidays. Thank you very much, both of you, to spending some time with us to have a conversation about ITCs. What we have done in the first session is that we have provided some context from the industry point of view in terms of where the industry is over the last 12 months. Robyn, let me start with you. Travelport is obviously a big player, not just in our market but globally, and an essential element in the arsenal of anyone who is already in the travel industry or thinking of being in the travel industry. But over the last couple of years, as industry has evolved, so has Travelport. So can I ask you to just position Travelport where it is today compared to the GDS that we used to refer to as Galileo a couple of years ago?
Well, Mladen, it's good to be here, and thank you very much for the opportunity. As far as Galileo is concerned, Galileo is a product of Travelport. Travelport was really, Galileo was seen as being a reservation system. I think Travelport is a whole lot more. We really talk about redefining the travel commerce platform. And that commerce platform enables our travel companies, our customers, to be able to transact more than just air. So certainly, Travelport is now known as a travel commerce platform, which is very exciting.
Can you give us some insight in terms of the movement in the industry? Has the industry grown? Is the industry retracting? Has there been any movement over the last couple of months?
From an industry perspective, the first 5 months of this year have been tough, I have to say. And what we're seeing as far as the segments are concerned, March, April were low, certainly interfered with by the holidays. And I think that's just the impact that this economy is facing. You know, the minute there are public holidays and they link them for the convenience of school holidays, the impact on the economy is great. And we've seen certainly that corporations who dominate in our field, when they miss a trip in March, they're not going to take two in April. They'll just bundle it, the same trip again in April, which obviously impacts the travel industry quite considerably. The May numbers have recovered. There has been recovery, and I think we're probably tracking at about 2% ahead of the performance of last year.
How is the business from the Thompsons point of view?
Most definitely. Thanks for having me as well, Mladen. It's nice to be honoured to share with Robyn. Definitely, I think it's almost chatting with and listening to Robyn. We mirror that. May was a definite huge bounce back.
Obviously, we have said already, you are one of the fundamental tools in the arsenal of every travel agency. When you have a strategic view of the makeup of the layout of the travel industry in South Africa, do you look at ITC segment, people who work from home, as a separate part of the industry? Do you have strategies that specifically address them, or is it one size fits all?
It's very definitely not one size fits all, and we do certainly have a very clearly defined strategy as far as the ITC market is concerned and the opportunity. It's certainly they are a key part of our business. They represent a significant stake of the business and certainly need to be looked at differently. They have different needs, they have different objectives, and we certainly need to accommodate and make sure that we're aligning with the consortia that actually represent them, as well as the individuals.
GDS, like Travelport, is for acting as a bridging tool between product suppliers, in this case predominantly airlines on one side, and users, which are travel agents. Do you have the conversations with the airlines in terms of the controlling role of Travelport, which I assume is one of the key strategies that you are considering? Can you give us a little more about that?
Very definitely. In the big picture, if you look at it, the content that the airlines or the hotel, whoever, the supplier provides to us, is given to us under contract to us. So there are a number of conditions. We require such, we require X, they give us Y, we meet somewhere in between. But the integrity of that content and the way that content is used is a key part of our promise to our supplier. And as such, anybody who has access to the Travelport system has to be looked at. We need to know who they are. Gone are the days where it's okay, we form part of this consortium, so that's it. We do need the necessary structure in place.
I am very keen to ask you a couple of questions about mobile, but before we get there, I think this is the appropriate time to ask you, Paulo. Obviously, Thompsons Holidays is the largest South African tour operator, wholesaler. You deal with probably more travel agents than anyone else in this market, and product is really what Thompsons is all about. Thompsons Holidays has always been, if I can use the term, one-stop shop as a concept. So when we talk about omni-channel, obviously a big part of that product delivery is tour operators like Thompsons. When you consider travel agents needing to make sure that we have better quality access to product, not just in terms of pricing, but in terms of knowledge and information, how does that impact your strategy in terms of how you structure your own product and how you deliver that into the marketplace?
Mladen, thanks. I think we are a one-stop shop. Selling the world is actually the opportunity to provide the customer exactly with what product they are looking for. So if they're tired of doing a beach holiday, for example, and they want to do a Disney trip, or they want to go and hop around Europe, those are opportunities that we can offer them. So product for us is quite key. We are a convenience structure. We structure around convenience. So we are one-stop shop. So we can do, we cater for an individual where we can do everything for them. And I think that's ultimately what people are looking for. There is an element of over-information, I think, but there's also inherent risk with
over-information within the marketplace, or you're talking about a consumer?
In terms of the consumer, yeah. I mean, he's spoiled with different avenues. I mean, he can go virtually anywhere and get information that he wanted. Just to go back with what you said earlier in terms of, gone are the days where, there's the halo only the travel agent knows. So we just really have to go one step ahead. As an independent travel consultant, they need to really just go above their game. And I believe in the old adage, you sell what you know. And you will only know if you get trained on that. So it's a key element of our strategy.
That leads us very nicely into the next part of what we wanted to speak about, and Robyn alluded to it. If we agree that in order to be as successful in the next 5 to 10 years as we were in the past, everyone who is on the sales side of the travel industry needs to skill up in the context of Travelport, obviously from the technical point of view, but in terms of product, they need to own that information and not just be a courier of that information. So training is clearly an aspect that is required. And do you have a strategy for that? Is there a specific way that you consider how to intensify the training to make sure that the product is more present on that side of the table?
I think training is such a key element. It's so ingrained in what we want to do, because in terms of a customer, that's how you stand yourself apart, and that's, we try to emphasize that.
Robyn, you mentioned mobile, and it is something that often produces one or two reactions within the travel industry. Some of our colleagues will just run away from it because they will think that it is an obvious competitor with an advantage, and some will embrace it and use it. But sometimes, and certainly paradoxically from my point of view, we really only look at mobile in context of how it will be used by the customer, almost totally ignoring the fact that on this side of the table, mobile technology is equally important. Travelport has had a mobile solution for now quite a while, and it has gone through a number of iterations, and I know that within our organization is being used quite extensively. Do you see that as as one of the essential tools within Travelport going forward? Do you have any information how is it used internationally compared to how it is used in South Africa?
The TMA product is actually, it is used. It certainly is a great asset, and particularly for those independent consultants who are on their own in their own environment. In the old days, if you went to a restaurant, you pulled out your laptop and you sat with it on the seat next to you and you clambered away at it. That's no longer the case, which has certainly changed the way many of...
So you recommend that for anyone who is considering an ITC career? Another aspect that is changing very dramatically, and Paulo alluded to that kind of rate of change, but from the technology point of view, is that what I have observed in our relationship with Travelport is that you have almost defined a strategy where engagement with Travelport from the travel agency point of view is served in small portions. It's like a buffet style menu of Travelport. Whilst in the past it was, here's the GDS, you get allow and you get everything with it. It seems that we have moved as an industry away from it, so every agency will select elements of technology that they need. So that seemed to be well defined. But really the question is, that assumes quite a high level of IT competence on the side of the agency. Does that work against not just ITCs, but small agents, agents who do not have, and even larger companies that don't seem to pay much attention to their IT strategy and rather outsource that somewhere? Do you find that to be a challenge?
Sure. Mladen, I think the challenge is when that IT or that embracing the technology is not adhered to or not taken seriously. I think that poses a bigger challenge, because those agents kind of get left behind, and that is the reality. You need to keep up. You cannot use a machine that has outdated, the software is no longer valid, the certificates, the security, all of that. You cannot run new software on old hardware, and it really isn't an every year or an annual cost, but it is something that every ITC needs to build into if they choose to be platform independent.
Can I ask you a cheeky question as well, seeing that you're here? Is there a deadline for Focal Point to disappear off our screens?
There is a deadline. We are probably going to go into a lockdown on Galileo, on Focal Point, in December 2016. And which is why we have made huge effort and huge strides in providing the training for the use. In this case, we've actually provided it free around the country, because it really is, it's in everybody's interest that our market and our customers are trained on it.
So we have 6 months, you have heard it, we have 6 months before Focal Point is gone and SmartPoint is the only platform that is supported.
Absolutely.
Paula, does Thompsons Holidays have a specific strategy that distinguishes ITCs from how you relate to perhaps TMC's owned franchise businesses?
We do. We definitely do, because we feel that independents are the business approach that they have is different. So we try very hard to customize it as best possible for a home-based or independent-based agent. So we definitely do have a specific approach with regards to training, with regards to sales calls. It's quite important. I think we got to customize. Gone are the days where I think everything fits everyone. I think it's swung, the pendulum has swung completely in the opposite way. So we try to customize it. So just in short, it's one-on-one, direct, brief, and we feel that we try to assist as best as we can, because we also know the home-based agent is also on their own time. They understand, they have their pressures in terms of what they can or cannot do. They've become independents because they believe strongly in the balance of life and that quality of life we were talking earlier about. The time is a new currency, and I think they've got it. They've got at that point, or that's their objective, is to strike that balance between work life, and we try as best as possible to fit within the work.
Well, all that's left for me is to thank you for your time with us, and I do hope that we will be able to continue this interesting conversation in the next editions of the ITC Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mladen. Thanks for having us.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
We have invited Marc Gore. Hi, Marc. Marc is a partner in an accountancy firm called Marx Gore, and he's perfectly qualified to help us navigate these waters that perhaps we as travel agents are not really familiar with. So thank you for spending a little bit of time, and hopefully you will be able to untangle some of this complication for us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask the first question. What would be the trigger that would give rise to a business? What needs to happen for a business to exist?
The minute you exchange goods or services for money, you are a business. You are performing a business function.
Okay, so if we have a transaction, if we have sold a travel service to someone, the moment the money has changed hands, that business is born, and both the taxman and the law of this country requires us to actually now deal with it as a business.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so when we deal with it as a business, can you give us a narrowed down version of what are the reasonable choices for us to constitute a business?
Sure. So there's a few various sort of options, but the main two that you come across most is the sole proprietor. So that's you trading as a business, or the most common other form is your company, your PTY Limited.
What are the differences?
The sole proprietor option is a very simple option. It's basically you. I am the business. With your company, you are forming another body, which is the business, and then you sit next to that business. Or, even though you are integrated in it and you may be part of the business, they are totally two separate entities.
Is it fair then to say that one of the significant consequences is that as a sole proprietor, you only pay tax as an individual earning an income, but as a company, there are two entities that need to satisfy the taxman?
That is exactly correct.
We'll talk a little bit about the tax in a moment, but one thing that comes to mind is from the banking perspective, am I correct in assuming that if I'm a sole proprietor, I have a personal bank account and the income that I earn comes into my personal bank account? How does it work for a company?
So a company, being a separate body, should have its own bank account. And ideally you should channel your business income through that account and keep your personal affairs totally out of that business account. So yes, you should operate two separate accounts if you're going to run a company.
Another aspect of this financial discipline is VAT. Within the travel context, we have domestic travel, which is subject to VAT, and then we have some of the international travel in some circumstances which is not. And it in itself is a bit of a minefield to untangle. But if one runs their own business, at what point, at what threshold of income does a travel agency need to register for that?
So the current threshold is R1 million. So that would be the amounts that you've actually invoiced. And it's R1 million per financial year. So let's call it March to Feb. If you hit $1 million, you automatically need to register. If you foresee that you're going to hit $1 million, you're supposed to be proactive and actually go forward and register for VAT.
Marc, thanks a lot. And hopefully when we get you back on, we will be able to go deeper into the accounting element of our business.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot.
ITC Summit would not be complete without being able to hear somebody who has actually put in practice many of the points that have been raised in the previous discussion with various other people. So we are so pleased to welcome Nicci Hayden. Nicci, welcome, and thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nicci is running her own business for now, just a little more than 7 years. And she will be able to give us first-hand information about how all this that we were talking about translate in real life. So, Nicci, to start with, if you can cast your mind to before you actually ran your own business, you were a consultant. You worked for an agent.
Correct, for 6 years.
Give us the process. What did you know? What didn't you know? What did you plan for? How does that work out? If you now think with your mind now and where you were when you made this choice, has anything changed? Tell us a little more about that process.
Well, from the beginning, when I first saw the opportunity of running my own business, obviously there was a lot of investigation involved because I had been in a retail agency where everything was always taken care of and this was the be-all and end-all. And I just felt like I needed something different. So I challenged myself to go out and have a look and see what the opportunities were, or whether or not I should move up in the company, what would work for me. And obviously, looking into the future of running, having my own family, from working from home would obviously be a positive, that you have more time for yourself. So I looked at various different options and I found a host company that seemed right for me, but it's a lot of information that you need to find out in order to be able to take that step, because you're going from being completely boxed in and taken care of and that's your job, to being in control of a business that is yours. I then spoke to a few friends who've been working for themselves, completely independent, versus working for a host company, to be able to see the differences. And this just seemed like the right step for me. It's more of a family, but still gives you that freedom to run your own business as your own MD, call it. And I wouldn't change it, no. I've learned a lot. I think that each day you continue with the industry that we're in, it continues to grow and change constantly. So you have to roll with it and just see where you end up. And I'm very happy where I am now.
It's a step up in terms of knowledge that it is worth having a partner rather than try and navigate these murky waters yourself, so that you can at least find out what is out there. Was that important for you?
That was very important for me. I mean, there's so many different companies and suppliers and all sorts of people that you have to deal with in the industry that are out there, that you need some guidance and somebody to back off onto, to go, is this the right route to take? Who should I work with? Who shouldn't I work with? And obviously when you're in a retail agency, you're fixed with certain suppliers and you have to work with them. Whilst when you work for yourself, it opens up so many more doors, and you just need to know that none of those doors are traps.
And would you say, I mean, now you have 7 years of experience, does that ever end, or is this exploration and needing to consult and learn forever?
Forever, especially in this industry. There's a new supplier, there's a new destination that people haven't really considered before. There's new airlines, there's airlines that are going under. There's so many things that you need to be able to have that relationship with somebody that you can bounce off of and know that you're okay. You know, you're yourself, you're running your own business. You are responsible not just for your business, you are responsible for however many clients you have. And their trust lies with you, so you have to be responsible.
Well, let's talk about trust. In the first segment of the ITC Summit that we spoke to Natalia from Asata, we spoke about the 21st century study, and almost in every of the 9 recommendations that study has put to the travel industry is that element of trust, the context of trust. Now, we know, if we are realistic, that as an industry we have a bit of a repair job to do with our clients, some that we have neglected and it's the reason, but some unjustifiable trust. How does that play out in your business? Is it financial in any way? How do you see that?
Trust is definitely financial, and trust doesn't just lie with me. Trust lies between me and my supplier, between me and my host company, and between me and my clients. And if I can't trust who I'm dealing with, I can't tell my client to trust me. So I need to be fully aware of who I am dealing with in order to be able to be confident and tell my client, you are in good hands.
We mentioned technology in our previous segment. We spoke to Robyn Christie of Travelport and with some other guests. And of course, we know that anybody who's been in the travel industry, we know that it's like oxygen. Technology is everything for us. Often what happens is that it becomes invisible because it's so ever present. We tend to ignore it. But then you wake up one day and you're running your own business. Sounds a bit like a scary kind of task.
Very daunting, yes. And the information that lies on that little square box of mine at home is incredibly important. And if we didn't have technology, we wouldn't be able to sell travel. It's just, so everything comes down to that laptop or your PC or whatever it may be. And the information that lies on there is everything to a client, everything from me to a supplier.
You're referring to credit cards, names?
Credit cards, passports, IDs, addresses, family information,
so
personal information. Huge. You can't, and the layman person who hasn't really dealt with a laptop themselves, if you're in a retail agency, it's there, it's safe, it's in an office, you've got insurance for that. But you yourself at home, that is a lot of information and a lot of responsibility to have. And the security needs to be top notch.
How about the other element of technology? You had a business in 2009, you started, so just over 7 years ago. We have moved from the technological world point of view significantly. If you try and remember where, there was no Twitter then, and Facebook was a different process. So technology changes. In terms of running a business, a travel business, is that an important consideration to keep up with not only what has changed in IT world, but you have competitors out there. Some of those competitors are large, well-funded companies. Can you compete unless your technology is at the same level?
A large part of it also does depend on your business, who you're marketing to, who you're dealing with. So for my business specifically, it's incredibly important to keep update with the times, and we are so close now. The world is so much smaller now with technology, and the fact that I can contact a hotel, whether it be through Facebook, through Twitter, I can contact them without just popping them an email. So to be able to offer your clients the best travel package, the best value for money, now you need to be up to date with the times in everything. Social media, the newest systems, the updated virus, all that sort of thing. You need to be valid today.
Often marketing is neglected, or in the worst case scenario even ignored. how do you see marketing? I mean, you're running a business from home. Is that a big part of your business in terms of your success or failure if you do it?
I've adopted, a lot of business, well, not a lot of businesses. One particular business, Richard Branson, he says, if you don't make sure your staff are happy, your clients won't be happy. Now, for me as a business owner, I am the staff member. So for me, if I don't put everything and give everything to my clients, my business is worthless. So I need to offer something that's different to everybody else out there. And for me, that's relationships. And my form of marketing, because I'm very much a leisure consultant, is my relationships with my clients. I keep in contact with them, whether it be via Facebook, via Twitter, via Instagram, via the telephone, coffee meetings. You have to be forward, you have to remain relevant, you have to constantly be in the eyes of those that you're dealing with to be able to have them remember you. I have just a small example is I didn't know that in my specific system of marketing that I hadn't ticked a few of my clients as marketable. I thought they were. I didn't revisit it. I went and ticked them all as marketing. A client phoned me saying she thought I'd disappeared from travel. She was right there in my system. I was friends with her on Facebook. She just wasn't following my timeline. And she said she thought I wasn't in travel anymore.
So just because they know you, they don't necessarily use you because they don't know that you're in
If they're walking through a shopping centre and there's an advert for travel and I'm not on their brain that specific moment, they'll go and walk in there and book a package.
A lot of suppliers would market to travel agents, including people who run the business from home. Do you ever think to use somebody else's branded marketing as your own messaging?
I very rarely do that, unless it's direct marketing to a specific client who I know wants that specific product. But for me, running my own business, I don't favour anyone over the other. Perfect example, I was on a flight yesterday chatting to a father who was trying to put his son to sleep. And he said to me, so what is it that you do? And I explained to him, and he said, so if you went to Mauritius, what hotels do you specifically deal with? And I said to him, none. I said, I deal with everyone. It comes down to what my client wants. So if I was now to constantly send out a specific supplier and their marketing, I might as well be an advert online. I'm not offering something that's exclusive and special to that client.
So presumably your client would assume that you are a little bit of a post office, and personalization that we heard a lot about in the study, and making customer feel as an individual.
Correct, not just a number.
You care, you need to hear them, and then
you need to qualify, you need to know them, you need to know what they want. And in order to do that, you have to take the time. And once you do that, you know what they want, so you can see an advert, but then they might not like the airline, they might not like that star rating of hotels. So you've got to make it personalized for them.
So just to recap, one last question. Obviously, you run a business, you're a businesswoman, you're a mother, you have a little boy that needs your time. You do a lot of communication, that takes time. You do a lot of marketing, that takes time. You run a thriving business, so obviously the reservation element takes time. Where do you find that time, and what and how you position your business to allow yourself to do those quality things rather than admin that we all hate?
There's a few aspects. Look, I often have other consultants that I've worked with in the past phoning me saying, what does it take to run your own business? And there's a few questions that I ask, but the one thing I always tell people is you need to be driven, you need to be responsible, you need to be motivated, and you need to know where the boundaries are, your boundaries are, because everyone's is different. And I know who I am, I'm comfortable in who I am, and I take that into my business. So I have my office hours, I tell them to my clients, but I always make sure they know that I am available for emergencies outside of those times. I have a routine, I plan my days. Obviously in travel you can never really plan your day because there's always going to be surprises that come up, but if you don't tick off all those lists that you have, you know, every day is going to amalgamate into one, and you're going to be left with an unsuccessful business. So my son goes off to school, I sit down to work, I work until 10, get up, take a break, start work again, and you've got to take, you know, all those little steps. I do all my admin on a Friday, just because that works for me. It might not work for everybody. I have my host company who takes care of, you know, the extra invoices and all those sorts of things. It takes time away from, for me running the house, the son, the business. So it's a bit of a juggle, but you make it work. And if I don't set boundaries for myself and for my clients, it won't work.
Are you satisfied? Is this a dream come true? Are you positive about business?
You know, often people get a little bit annoyed because, you know, I say I'm happy, you know, living on my little cloud, but I make it a success. And I have, you know, whilst I do run my own business, I do have the host company that, you know, says to me, you're doing well, you know, keep doing what you're doing, which motivates me as well. My whole family's included. They all know that I'm doing well. They all, you know, motivate you as well. So it's a step in the right direction, definitely. If you're looking at, you can't be in a retail agency until you're 80. You know, you'd love to, but if you're looking at taking your life to the next level, this is definitely a step for you. It worked for me, but you have to make a success of it.
Well, I think we leave it at that message. It is, it was great having a chat. Thank you very much, Nicci. This is the last part, or to the second segment of the ITC Summit. I do hope that we have brought some interesting conversations to all of you who are already working from home in travel, or perhaps sitting in agencies and considering whether this is a worthwhile exercise and whether you have what it takes to actually do that. I hope we have answered some of those questions. We would very much like to hear from you. If you have missed the first part, both videos are available on the Travel Counsellors recruitment website, and it's a very easy address, recruitment.thetravelcounsellors.com. And we are hopefully going to do this again. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next time.